Hello and welcome to the Leaders Council podcast with me, Scott Challoner. This podcast, just like the Leaders Council itself, is all about recognising and celebrating those people who keep this great country running. We exist to give leaders a voice outside of their own organisation and to support them in the same way that they support their staff every single day of the week. Now, if you are in a leadership position yourself and would like to have your voice heard on the national stage, then please do go to leaderscouncil.co.uk/apply. Now, each week on this show, I'm joined by a different CEO, CFO, director, secretary, chairman, or president even, in the aim of truly discovering who those people are that get up every morning and make this country work. We get their take on the current economic and political landscape of the UK, and of course discuss the success and the innovation that makes everything worthwhile in the end. Now, my guest on the programme today is Dave Radley. Dave is the owner of DMR Training and Consultancy, a construction training provider, and he has overseen considerable growth of the company since its foundation in 2013. Dave, very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Good morning, Scott. You okay?
Yes, doing really well, thank you, Dave. Shame about the weather. Isn't the nicest day for it, but we're all indoors and we're recording, so hopefully we're away from the cold, we're away from the wet. And it isn't the first time, of course, that you've joined us on this show. And the last time that we spoke on the podcast was last April, just a couple of weeks into the first COVID-19 lockdown in England, actually. And you spoke to us then about a whirlwind couple of weeks, and understandably so. Now, well, pretty much over 1 year later, we're still living under social restrictions of some sort. And I'm interested to understand to what extent all of that has affected your business over so long.
I think it was a whirlwind few weeks. It probably turned into a whirlwind few months, which probably we didn't all expect. But it actually worked out for the best for us. I mean, I think when I spoke to you last time, I was talking about the plan we put together to kind of combat the situation, make sure we carried on regardless to a point. And it worked. I'm glad to report. We got through the first few months with a bit of a different approach. I think it was a bit difficult finding our way through, as it was for everybody. It was quite new. This furlough started and the lockdown really kind of hit home. But we got through and we got used to using different methods of working. Staff became used to that and flourished with it really. It worked out really well for us. We got the chance to get a few more kind of new innovative methods in action within the team, which we'd perhaps been looking at developing in the previous years, but not really had the kind of push to do that, which the situation almost threw us into that position. So we kind of went with it. And it made dividends, really. We probably had our best year by far over the last 12 months, which is fantastic. I mean, albeit it hasn't been the best year for many people. But yeah, we've adapted new methods and really gone with it and continuing to grow, to be honest, Scott. It's been a welcome shift, really, in ways of working.
It's interesting that you mentioned there that a remote working model, as it were, was essentially in the pipeline, and then COVID has sort of accelerated that in a way. And with that now being in place and working quite well, do you think that's something that's going to stay for the long term, that flexible working model?
I think so, Scott, yeah. Most certainly a lot of elements of it. I mean, I wouldn't say we're going to go forward with 100% of the way they've been working, but most certainly a massive part of it. I mean, over the last few months, as the was it third, I think, lockdown came, we had to kind of adapt again because we had started kind of going back to the office and getting out and about a little bit more. But then we were forced to adapt again, which is quite easy because we've been through it once, twice before. So I think we've really gone with it more this time. More or less, people just slid back into it, and it worked again. It was almost it happened probably January time. We went back into a full lockdown, and we just readapted to where it was last kind of March, April, was no real kind of, the first one we had some big meeting and went through what I was going to move forward and so on. But everyone just kind of said, yeah, we know what we're doing, we've seen it before, off we went, and productivity levels literally went through the roof again, as it did before. If anything, probably towards the end of last year, I think I would say slowed down, but it wasn't as efficient as it was perhaps in the springtime last year. So I think, there's been a lot of lessons learned, and I'm really keen to move forward with most of what we've had over the last 12 months. Over the next few weeks, there's restrictions ease even further. There will be more people coming back into the office, the more, face-to-face meetings, as we were talking about earlier, networking events, that kind of thing. On a personal level, I'm keen to go out and about and speak to people, but from an overall business point of view, some of these methods we've adopted now, we definitely want to stay with it. It's just boosting productivity levels at no end, really.
And you talked about productivity levels increasing, and a little bit earlier on, you also mentioned that the company's been able to grow over the course of a difficult year as well. So by having to sort of change your procedures and adapt, has that new way of operating essentially opened new income streams and made new audiences accessible, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. We operate up and down the UK. We always have, but we have a lot of contracts with European funding, which is are focused in around Greater Manchester, Sheffield City region, Lancashire, and we've had a lot of that over the last 2 years. But we have assessment team around the country, and we started to open up a little bit more because our customers have also they've had to, I guess, but they're having to use more efficient methods now. We're not sending people travelling all around the country to kind of, meet for an half an hour discussion. We're doing it, through methods like this over the phone. We're doing it through video recordings, through Zoom, Teams, and so on. So it cuts the time quite a bit. There's a lot of elements that we can't do like that because we're going on to construction sites. We've got to see firsthand what people are doing to make a judgment on what they're doing because we're assessing what they do. But even so, we're getting sent videos in and so on. So that's saving time as well. But given how the government's reacted in the last probably since September time, especially the National Skills Fund, that's now become a part of the funding that we have. All that kind of stuff is just giving us loads of opportunities to bid for new work, further afield, and showcase how we've been working really. When we're putting forward bids now for work, we can bid for work further afield and demonstrate that, we've actually been operating like this for 12 months rather than say, we could do this, but, X, Y, Z. Over the last 12 months, we've fully embraced the situation, we've moved forward, upskilled our team. Our team have actually become really efficient. It's a testament to them, to be fair. I don't think anyone has complained at any point through this. The team we have within the company have been fantastic, and they've really enjoyed the shift. So it's very easy now to kind of get on paper when bidding for work and say, this is what we're about. We can work all over the country, and the funding that's coming out at the moment is definitely a benefit to us.
There are a few important things to take away from that. Certainly, I agree with one of the first things that you mentioned there. There's going to be a whole new efficient and sustainable way of operating, not having to travel, say, 2 hours for a half an hour meeting. You can do that over Zoom. You can do it quicker. You can fit more time into the day. But also how the government stepped in with funding towards skills and upskilling. I think that's incredibly important as well. And there's been a lot of mixed reaction, hasn't there, to government leadership throughout the entirety of the crisis over various different aspects. But with regards to their management of support for businesses and keeping business and industry running, how do you think that Westminster has done with regards to that? Are you quite happy with the support that they've provided, do you think?
I am, personally, yeah. And the support we've had for our business I can't speak for everyone. I know everyone's got a different view. And I think they have spoken as well, as I say, and we haven't gone without. I know a lot of people that the same. Obviously, I keep abreast of the news and people's feelings and what's going on. I guess everyone doesn't feel the same way, but we're going to please everyone. But yeah, I've questioned. There's been things I've kind of questioned over the last 12 months about how we've dealt with certain things. But that aside, if you're asking about the support, the business, and what they've done for us, and especially injecting funding into skills and training, I think it's been good. Yeah, I do. I have no complaints from that front. No.
And one thing that has been amplified during the pandemic as well is the importance of not just physical health, but also mental health as well. And when you've had to sort of manage that within your own business, sort of looking after staff from a distance, keeping them motivated, just how much of a challenge has that been for you?
It was quite the challenge early on. Early on being, March at the time last year. And I found myself having quite a lot of phone calls, especially with members of the team that were perhaps, living on their own or not kind of speaking to people that much. And I think my general take on it was, I'll keep in contact and have a chat about it. And not particularly work, just things in general. Granted, I had a bit of time to do that. I'm quite lucky. I've got a family around me and I've people to talk to and so on. But not everyone has. We made moves in the early days we kept a few people in the office, made a conscious effort to keep people in the office who perhaps, haven't got big families around them like I have, or not as fortunate as they're. So they was in the office every day because it was the only place he was kind of going. And then, I was going in the office and was trying to do things. We had teams meetings and so on. And then as time went on, we started opening up a bit and having meetings and so on. Everyone reacted really positively. As I say, it's testament to them. I can't remember the time anybody's come to me and said, or really complained about how we dealt with it or what's going on. We've just stuck together really, and made the best of a potentially bad situation. But yeah, it's not been too bad. I have to say that's testament to them. I've not had to do too much because they just took everything on board and gone with it really. So it's not been tough at all, to be honest, on that front.
It's remarkable, isn't it, the flexibility and resilience that workforces have shown during this time, certainly. And what you did say as well during our last discussion a year ago is that COVID for you at that point was essentially stepping into entirely uncharted territory. So now that we're over a year later, what would you say, reflecting back on the last year, that this whole experience of adapting to a new reality has taught you personally?
Personally, I think it's just, for me personally, I think it's become about ownership, if I'm honest. I think you become aware that there's a lot of situations or most situations that you just can't control. And I think in the early days I was maybe, I won't say complaining, but challenging certain things I said about decisions government making or anybody else for that matter. I think you get to a point where you think, what, you just go with the cards that you dealt. And I think I spoke on the last podcast about resilience and developing that. I think I got to a point personally where it's a case of, you control the controllables and do what you can. My life's changed quite a bit. I've adopted different kind of lifestyle changes on a personal level. Probably done a lot of things that I did years ago before technology came on the scene, which is a bit of a contrast really, because the businesses totally raised the bar with new and innovative methods. But I probably led a simpler life personally, and I think that's worked. I think what it's led to is a better work-life balance because I've gone in work and done what I've had to do, and then come away and enjoyed the finer things really, and become far more healthy. I know other members of the team, family members have done the same. We've had better relationships. I think seeing things for what they are, really, for good or bad. I think it's just been a time to really self-reflect for everyone, really. But yeah, I genuinely feel better for it. I think I've become more resilient personally. The business definitely has. I think more focused and more driven. I mean, that was the case for me anyway. But yeah, it's a real learning curve, but for the better, I think, Scott.
Mm. And just thinking about that sort of work-life balance, as you mentioned there, I mean, it can be difficult when you're in a leadership role such as yourself to sort of step away from the hectic world of running a business, even when things are normal and going well. So during a health crisis, I can imagine it's very difficult when you're having to manage all of the pivoting and making sure that everybody stays motivated, stays in that good sort of mental place. Do you personally have any sort of techniques of your own which sort of help you step back and maybe almost switch off a little bit as and when you need to, would you say?
As in from a personal level, switching off from running the business.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I tend to do a lot of, I'm involved in sport and I've done I do a lot of training. I have kids that are involved in lots of different activities, albeit some were stopped until kind of recently. I've always, finished work and gone through some form of exercise and training. I think over the last 12 months, just kind of emphasised that really. I've become a keen runner, which I never thought I would be. From playing sports, I've kind of got the gym training and stuff. But yeah, I do a lot of training stuff. And the kids play football and so on. I do a lot of reading to switch off. But yeah, I think it's become easier. I mean, I do work and socialise, which obviously I've not been able to do as much over the last 12 months. So I think you just need out ways of how to replace that. I feel I've done that pretty well. I mean, there has been times where I thought, I just want some kind of normality back. So I think then I'm not a kind of massive fan of things like new normal and stuff like that. But I think saying that, I've kind of made my new normal, if you like, and I've done a lot of different things and been a lot healthier. My mind's been a lot clearer, and I've been thrust into that position through this situation. I think I was talking to someone the other day and said, would you go back to where it was? As much as I'd like to say, yeah, because I want to get back to, supporting a football team and I'm going to the pub or whatever. There's a lot of other things that I've started doing, which I found I'm just as happy doing, be it, going out running, going for walks, reading books or whatever. Yes, I've become a bit boring, Scott, in some ways.
Well, obviously we're recording this on the May the 14th, just for the benefit of the listeners tuning into this. So to contextualise that a little bit, on Monday, in just 3 days' time, we will be moving to the next stage of the government's roadmap out of lockdown, meaning indoor hospitality can return along with a whole host of other businesses. And then we are on track, hopefully, for all social restrictions, including masks and social distancing, to essentially be removed from June the 21st. With that roadmap out of lockdown there clearly now, Dave, do you think there's a clearer route forward, not just for yourself, but also for your business, and maybe room for some optimism that normality now isn't too far away?
I think so, Scott, yeah. I definitely like to think so. I mean, I know there's bits of stories you see flying about, that things might happen, whether it be, variants or different things going on. I mean, I think I said in the last podcast, I tend to go right to the kind of horse's mouth, if you like, and listen to what government says and take from that what I will. I think I didn't mention it in the last question. I've kind of switched off a lot from the media and news and so on, because I think that, the story gets diluted, and I mean, that's an age-old thing, I guess. It's what we're to do. But yeah, I think from what we know about the roadmap and what's happening, I definitely think that things are moving forward. I know I've made plans, both business and personal wise, in accordance with that for the next few weeks. So I definitely think so, yeah. I don't see personally any reason why we can't push on now with what that roadmap says.
And one thing we did discuss over a year ago when you were last on the show as well as what you were hoping for over the course of the next 12 months. And now that we are over 1 year later, do you think we've captured a sense of community spirit and resilience within industry, as you said you hoped would happen 1 year ago?
Yeah, no. I think, I've seen it a lot firsthand. And, we definitely tried to move forward in that way. I mean, again, from a personal business point of view, I've been kind of the business we tried to stick together, and from a personal point of view, I've had my parents are 83 and 77, and there's been elements of that we have to stick together and help each other out and so on. But yeah, I think again, I'm probably not kind of what you see out there on social media and so on. I think there's a lot of stories that's kind of come out that what people are doing, but I don't think that's actually what's happening at ground level, and don't believe all you see type thing. But so I'd say yes and no, to be honest. I mean, I think I've seen the best and worst of it over the last 12 months, to be fair.
And just before we do finish, Dave, because I am conscious that we are running short of time, one thing you also said that last year was that your plan for the future was to continue to develop people within your business, DMR Training and Consultancy, try and expand your offering as much as you can, and self-reflect, most importantly, while you have the chance to do so. Now that we are over a year later, what do you think the next 12 months are going to hold for you in your business now?
I think everything you just said, obviously I said before, we have done, definitely. I think we've done what we set out to do 12 months ago, and it's definitely had its merits. As for now, really exciting times, to be honest. We've really excelled, and it's put us in a position where we can go even further. We're now in the mix for bigger contracts. We've increased the staff team since last year. Staff have developed, staff have progressed within roles, into new roles, and we're really in a good position. For the next 12 months, I'd like to think we can grow considerably, maintain that quality. And I'd like to think we can kind of lead by example, really, and become more of a leader in what we do. As I said, there's plenty out there, which as I touched on just then, that are kind of saying what they're doing, and I'm not entirely sure that's the case. We tend to quietly go over to our business and do it the right way, I'd like to think. But yeah, I'd like to think we can continue growing, and I'd like to think this time next year there'll be quite a lot of success stories for the people involved within our business, on the business itself.
And who's to say in a year's time we're not going to be looking back on this discussion and talking about some of those successes, because it's an immense time for training businesses, isn't it? Because we're going to have a lot of people there who've maybe sort of lost jobs during the pandemic and are looking to upskill, move into different industries, and that's going to be a massive, massive opportunity for businesses such as your own.
Yeah. We've already started to move in that direction. I mean, especially the whole build back better message and working in more sustainable ways. I mean, we're in the process of revamping the website. We've just gone through a bit of a brand refresh. We're moving into different sectors, namely low carbon, environmental goods sector. I mean, I have been kind of talking about this since we started in 2013 when the Green Deal was about, which sadly never really kicked off like we thought it would. So I've been quite passionate about that from the start. And I think now it's got the traction that's maybe needed to make people think a little bit differently, especially within construction. What we're seeing now is a shift in new methods of construction, and I think we're going to see over the next few years jobs emerge that never existed, and people don't know about energy, methods of energy, and fuel types and all that kind of thing emerge that we've not perhaps seen before. I mean, I've been working on this for 3-4 years now, and I do quite a bit of work at different universities. And a lot of Manchester University on the development of the hydrogen fuel, the cell technology, we're doing a lot of qualifications, installation, building treatments about energy efficiency within homes, and the work that's coming out at the moment, and the tenders that are coming out are all geared towards working more efficiently, sustainability, and it really is just up our street. Because, like I said, I've been looking at this for a long, long time, and maybe it's just the push that's needed at the minute. But I think it's really exciting time. It's definitely something we want to be involved in. And I hope that people get behind it. I think in the message, in procurement, you're seeing tender documents now structured in a way that they're wanting companies to behave in different ways. And rightly so. I think it's just been a throwaway kind of, we'll just tick a box in the past. And I think it's come to light that, what we really need to embrace some of the messages that's coming across. And I think that's something that's going to really gather pace over the next couple of years, or at least I'd like to think so.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Dave. It's changing times, certainly, but it's exciting times, isn't it? And we're going to see so much more innovation like we've been seeing over the course of the last year. Dave, I have to say, it's been a real pleasure welcoming you back onto the programme again. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to join us. And as I said, I'd be more than happy to welcome you back onto the show in the next few months as we start to see more of these changes taking shape. And hopefully there'll be even more success stories to share by that point in time as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, Scott. It's been a pleasure to talk to you again.
Likewise, Dave. Thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you, Scott.
I was speaking on today's programme to Dave Radley, owner of DMR Training and Consultancy, and I do hope that you all thoroughly enjoyed another compelling interview. Now that outdoor hospitality has returned, I'm now off to a local beer garden to raise a glass to outstanding leadership despite the poor weather, and hopefully over the coming weeks we'll keep taking further strides toward normal life. We have recorded this programme on Friday, May the 14th, so I'm really looking forward to setting foot in a pub again from next week. Remember, everybody, please do continue to look after yourselves and do be considerate of others, because it makes such a difference in preserving lives. We're almost there. Let us just be careful about how we get to that finish line. Take care now.